Welcome to Alanis Business Academy. I'm Matt Alanis, and this is Introduction to Resume Writing. A resume is a staple in the job search process, but unfortunately, many fail to put in the time to present themselves professionally and obtain that coveted interview. Although a resume won't guarantee your chances of landing a job, a resume that is lacking will almost ensure your chances in not moving forward in the hiring process. As someone who has looked through hundreds, if not thousands of resumes, I can say confidently that a resume can help you stand out from other applicants and put you on the track to an interview. After all, a resume may be the first thing an employer sees, and you want them to develop a positive opinion of you. The first thing that you need to do is to decide whether you will use a chronological resume, a functional resume, or combination of the two. A chronological resume focuses on applicants' education and experience. This is by far the most common type of resume and is meant to provide an employer with a snapshot of your employment history. Employers tend to prefer this type of resume since it helps them identify any gaps in employment and is very easy to follow. The second type of resume is known as a functional resume. A functional resume focuses on skills or qualifications as opposed to places of employment. This type of resume is typically organized by skill and is often used to not draw a giant red flag to gaps in employment. However, this type of resume may also work well for someone who wants to downplay their past employers and actual job titles in the hopes of transitioning to a different career path. The last type of resume, often referred to as a chrono-functional resume, incorporates both education and experience requirements along with a focus on skills or qualifications. This helps satisfy employer requirements while also allowing an applicant the opportunity to highlight several important skills. In this video, we're going to focus on developing a chrono-functional resume. To the left side of your screen, you likely already noticed a template similar to those generated by many types of word processing software. Although templates are great to start with, I recommend altering your resume so that it stands out. Put yourself in the position of the applicant screener or manager looking through a pile of resumes. You don't need to be too flashy, but differentiating your resume in some way can help you stand out so at least it gets a second look. Unfortunately, the best resume layout in the world will not make up for a lack of content, so that is going to be our focus. So let's go through this resume section by section and discuss some different things that you can do to enhance your own resume. The first section includes your contact information. This is very straightforward. The only thing I'll mention is that you want to have a professional appearing email address to display on your resume. Let's go ahead and set aside your own unique individuality and desire to express yourself for just a few moments and get an email address other than the one that you picked out in the 8th grade. You certainly don't want the employer getting the wrong idea. The next section that we commonly see on resumes is an objective. To be honest, I'm not a big advocate for an objective section. The reason is that many of the objectives that I've seen don't tell me really anything new. For example, writing to obtain a position in sales doesn't add a great deal of value since your application expresses your desire to obtain a position in sales. Now, before you feel bad about yourself, know that I was once guilty of the same thing. The second reason I dislike an objective section is that they are largely redundant. Since I recommend that everyone drafts a cover letter tailored to the employer, an objective section states nothing new. In the cover letter, an applicant will express how they heard about the job, the reason they are applying, and why they believe they're a good fit for the job. So including a watered-down version of this in your resume does nothing more than waste valuable space. The way that you want to look at your resume is like a piece of real estate. The most valuable space is located at the top of the resume, since this has the highest probability of being seen by an employer. As you go down the resume, the chances of that information being seen go down significantly. So in addition to placing the most important and relevant information towards the top, you do want to avoid filling it with information that does not provide value. The next section we have here is labeled experience. This is where an applicant lists in reverse chronological order the jobs that they have held. Employers commonly want to see names of employers, dates of employment, and the position that you held as well. Since a job title does not necessarily explain what you did on the job, you may want to list the tasks, duties, and responsibilities of your position as well. When doing this, try to stay away from things that are obvious. For example, if you worked as a cashier, don't list that you rung up transactions at a cash register. Although this is accurate, you're not telling the employer anything that can't be assumed based upon your position. Instead, Focus on transferable skills as well as other responsibilities that cannot be assumed based upon your job title. Maybe you pioneered a new customer service initiative, developed a new process for tracking inventory, or received some type of award that highlights your work ethic. Whatever you list, make sure there's a specific reason that it's going on the page beyond simply filling in empty space. The next section we have listed is education. Like experience, an applicant's education is also listed in reverse chronological order. In addition to listing the institution and your degree, it is also a good practice to list your grade point average. The reason is that a high GPA sends the message that you're conscientious, which is a very desirable quality in an applicant. If your GPA is less than stellar, you may want to admit it just in case it works against you. The last thing that I recommend is to list any awards, accomplishments, or professional societies that you were a part of. These can be listed in bullet form under the institution and can help set you apart from other applicants. The last section in our example resume is a skills section. This section is a common feature in a functional resume. By including a skills section, an applicant has the opportunity to highlight relevant skills. What this means is that the skills you list should be important to the position that you are applying for. Once again, you want to focus on transferable skills, meaning skills that are important regardless of occupation. These can be listed in bullet or paragraph form depending upon your preference. Bullets tend to make it easier for the reader to digest the information, so certainly keep that in mind when crafting your own resume. One last thing about resumes is that you should feel the freedom to change the order in which each section appears. For example, on my resume, I list a skills section first that highlights transferable skills as well as skills targeted towards specific occupations. After that section, I list my work experience and education since that is my area of interest, followed by my education. But you could list your education prior to your work experience if your educational background is more important to the job. This is common for recent college graduates who may not have a great deal of comparable work experience. If you're applying for a finance job at a bank, chances are your bachelor's degree in business administration with an emphasis in finance is more relevant than your job at a local fast food chain. This has been Introduction to Resume Writing. For access to additional videos, be sure to subscribe to Alanis Business Academy, and also remember to like and share this video with your friends. Thanks for watching.